Welcome, fans of the Milwaukee Public Museum. I am Scott Bush with Preserve MKE, a citizens group that we are dedicated to preserving the Milwaukee Public Museum. And today we want to talk about all of the incredible art and the murals that are within the dioramas throughout the museum. I recently did a tour of the museum and counted 140 works of art that we stand to lose, and these works of art have been painted by notable artists and artisans, and we are trying to do what we can to prevent the desecration of that artwork. Joining me today is Stuart Stefany, and thank you, Stuart. Thank you very much for driving up here from Illinois today on
My pleasure.
Blustery day. A little bit about Stuart. Stuart is a certified art teacher and has been teaching since 2012. He's got a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree with the Kansas City Art Institute.
That's where Walt Disney went.
That's where Walt Disney went. Great. Yeah, that's right. And in 2008, while studying for his teaching certification, he attended the School of Art Institute of Chicago, and then in Lake Forest.
Lake Forest College.
Lake Forest College. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. Okay. Then Stuart took a class in museum exhibitions. Before he became a teacher, he worked for 10 years at Columbian Models and Exhibit Works Limited, a company that produces high-end architectural models and that are now on display at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago and the Chicago Architecture Center. So, Stuart, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate your strong dedication to preserving the Milwaukee Public Museum. Mm-hmm. And so what do we stand to lose here, Stuart?
These are masterful works. This panorama back here is just incredible. And I think people kind of walk by. This is not just a background for taxidermy. These are amazing works in their own right. And the immense amount of detail that I see in these things is breathtaking. And you see this throughout the museum. These things are recognized in New York and in Chicago as works of art. And this is a book on the Windows of Nature. This is a book on the New York Museum of Natural History. And this is what they say, their curator says, the habitat dioramas are among the greatest treasures of American Museum of Natural History. Perhaps nothing embodies the spirit and mission of the museum so completely as these painstakingly created lifelike habitat displays, which are recognized internationally as superb examples of the fusion of art and science. They set out to educate us about nature and science and to engender feelings of wonder and stewardship in the natural world, and they succeed brilliantly. And this totally embodies what we see here. And we see this throughout the museum. It's breathtaking, and it's a treasure. It definitely needs to be preserved.
So what the museum is not really telling everybody, in my opinion, and the opinions of many others too, is that when they say everything is moving over to the new museum, they're talking about the artifacts. They discount or discredit all of the built-ins and all of the the artwork painted within the dioramas as being decoration. Mm-hmm. And these works of art go way beyond just being decoration. They are historically and culturally significant, not only to our community, but the entire country, if not the world.
And they're irreplaceable.
And they are irreplaceable.
So one of the things I love about this, the diorama with the beaver, I always love the little thing over here you can see inside their lodge, which is just charming, you know. But there's this thing that they do, which is to take the foreground and weave it into the background. And we see this in great monumental works like the Gettysburg cyclorama or the Battle of Atlanta cyclorama, and where they are taking this, you know, it's not just a painting, and it's not just taxidermy, it's an entire environment. And you feel in some cases where it's a different world, and all you have to do is if you just push through the glass, you could leave the world of the museum and enter this other natural, pristine world. And that's the magic of this work. And if you just take some time to look at the background, you just kind of the more you look at it, the more you'll be in awe. All right, so we're looking at this painting here, which is just another amazing thing. to do a landscape like this, again, this is not some sort of Bob Ross, let's do it in a half hour kind of thing. This involves a lot of planning and bringing the foreground into the background and use of perspective and use of color, incredibly solid use of color. And so much detail, and it's been done with such beauty and attention. I also love little aspects of it, and how they, take the lichen and they start bringing it into the background and they fuse these things. It's sculpture and it's 2D art, 3D art combined, and it's dramatic as well. These things have to be preserved. They're so beautiful and so amazingly well crafted. So I'm starting in front of another masterpiece of background painting here. And not only with something like this obviously take months to execute, but there's a quality of it that's pointillism. It goes from realism to abstract. And if you go into the distance there and you look at the trees, there's this pointillist quality that's very much like George Seurat. And it's every bit as marvelous as what you might see on display at the Art Institute in Chicago. And so these are things that have real value and real importance. And you need to take the time to look at them and take the time to stop, not just walk by and say, oh, bears, and really see what's going on. And the charming little details of the salmon going up the stream and the works with the trees and everything comes together, marvelously too. So, along with our larger dioramas, we've got the smaller dioramas. And if you look at this, you can tell that this was done by somebody who's maybe trained around 1910 or something like that. It's really beautiful. And you look at the way the water is done. There's this marvelous use of color that comes from the Impressionists. And you see this detail on the water that's very much like a Monet painting. It's really brilliantly done. And so these things are all works of art in their own right. And also it's a beautiful way that they take the foreground and blend it into the background to create this illusion of this other world. It's really charming and really amazing. All right, so this is an amazing work, and you've got the Grand Tetons in the background. There's so much detail in this thing. And if it's destroyed, who do you get to make another one? Because I went to art schools, and most of the professors there are doing abstract art, and they don't even know how to do this themselves. So once you take something like this, and you think that you're going to be able to get a replacement, think again, because the people, they're not training them like this anymore, right? So not only is this a masterwork that needs to be preserved, if you think you can get another person to do it again, it's not going to happen. So I'll step back so you can really look at it, and the attention to detail, and also the figurative works of the animals. This is a person who knows animal anatomy. This is a person who knows the use of color, right? You've got sfumato background as the mountains disappear as they get further away. It's really a beautiful, charming work, and it's also genius because the work of color is not just a background for taxidermy, right? He's deliberately using, you've got yellow tones and tan tones in the elk here, and the background he's usually deliberately using bluer and gray tones, right? So that they are also shadow boxed using color and light. So it's a total masterpiece work and needs to be preserved. So I'm not really sure how they're going to save something like this, but this is obviously the work of a person who's trained in the social realist style, right? This beautiful work of like Yellowstone and Yosemite, and it's just amazing. and you see the use of color in it, the use of light and dark, and to make the tree kind of stand out from the background. It's this amazing work, and it's up there with like works by, say, Thomas Hart Benton and other masters of the 1930s and 1940s. This is obviously a person who was trained maybe in the 1920s and 1930s and probably executed this at the tail end of his life. You're not going to find another person who can do this again. And you're going to take one of this person's greatest legacies and it'll just be crushed and destroyed. It's one of these things that needs to be preserved. So these paintings are art, and a lot of people just kind of walk by and they don't pay attention to them. But there's amazing use of color, amazing detail in it. They're not just a backdrop for taxidermy. And it went to the American Museum of Natural History or the Smithsonian Museum of Natural History in Washington, and they've taken these animals out of context, and they're just in glass boxes, and it doesn't have the same meaning. They have to be in their environment to really kind of understand what they are and where they come from and their significance. And this is an era of environmentalism. And this is an era in which we see the whole world as a unit. And you just can't take something out and put it in a glass box and say that that has the same meaning as creating this to understand the animal and its relationship to nature. And that is what the artist conveys in this. And with the beautiful use of the complementary colors of the blues and the oranges very subtly into the wintry landscape here. It's masterful in every way. And it also educates us and it uplifts us.
Well, Stuart Stefany, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been educational. I can't thank you enough for helping us in your efforts to preserve the Milwaukee Public Museum. I looked at the exhibits today with even new insight after you had given me your level of expertise in examining these treasures and works of art that we really can't stand to lose. So in closing, I just want to say that as fans of the Milwaukee Public Museum, if you want to help us and preserve the Milwaukee Public Museum and these beloved works of art, contact your county supervisor if you are a resident of Milwaukee County. If you're not, contact your state rep in Wisconsin, because remember the state had given $45 million to the project that will eventually lead to the destruction of this museum. Stuart, any final comments?
Thank you very much. I've been coming here since I was a toddler, and even though I'm from Illinois, I've always had the greatest reverence for this place, and I've loved it. And I've loved its displays, I've loved its artifacts, I've loved these quality of these dioramas. Like I said, they're like another world that you can step through and you're transported. And that's kind of the magic of this place. So coming up here, it's always a pleasure to come up from Milwaukee. And it's always a pleasure to be in this museum. And the idea that this could be lost is just absolutely heartbreaking.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you.